Hey everybody, it's Tatiana with Back to Facts. I'm an award-winning journalist, and I've been watching the shenanigans of the shadow government of the USA for decades. I finally put it all together, and I want to tell you that from 9/11 to the JFK assassination to Las Vegas shooting, and on and on and on, we don't know exactly what happened because that's a conspiracy theory. But we sure as hell know that what they're telling us did not happen. I would never present false information. I always dig for complete facts. So let me explain how I can even be saying and talking about a shadow government. Here it is. When real journalists and others blow the whistle on the government operations from 9/11 to Las Vegas to this election, they are maligned, they are smeared, they are pushed down, and then the CIA comes out with false theories that are really out there so nobody believes the real ones. In fact, we are bombarded with half-truths, twisted theories, so that literally in our very beings, we feel confused. We feel that there's never a way to get to the bottom of the actual information. Well, let me tell you something. We can figure out how the vote went. We can figure out what happened with election night. Yes, but if we let those who rule over the information streams, it's amazing how there could even be a network to suppress and cover up information. But they do it, like I just said, through obfuscation, through flooding the zone with a lot of really false information and theories, making people who are telling the truth look as kooky as possible. And it's not that everybody's in on it. It's not that every single person in the media is in some conspiracy. It's not. But if you have the general notion that, there's no way a lot of these outlandish, kooky events have happened, the ones that are just half-truths, then people think that anything else that's similar is not true. So you really don't have to censor reporters. They fall in line. You may ask, why do I care? Well, I care because I have seen what the shadow government is capable of. I've seen them last through generations. I've seen them destroy countless people, countless heads of state around the world. I've seen them control elections around the world. And you say, why? Why would they do that? Well, they do it because they don't trust the people. I voted for Hillary Clinton. After that election, I decided I would search for the truth, really dig. So the first thing I realized was that the mainstream media and the controllers of information were acting like the deplorables didn't exist. They were actually acting like the salt of the earth, the core of American people and workers, didn't have any grievance, that nothing was wrong. When I knew that not to be true, Bernie Sanders at least was honest in the beginning about how disastrous our policy with China was, how every last factory went overseas in a matter of 10 years, maybe a couple presidents. Now, did Trump remedy the situation? It's not net jobs, it's manufacturing jobs. You always have to zoom in on the details. And the manufacturing jobs, I think it was something like, don't quote me, but like 500,000, left with a giant sucking sound, like Ross Perot said. And then Trump brought all the manufacturing jobs back. The opioid crisis is directly related to the loss of manufacturing jobs in whole swaths of our heartland and our nation. I kept waiting for President Obama to say that TPP was a mistake. But he never did. And actually, when he supported TPP, that's really one of the things that got me to become a truth teller. Because he just was so nonchalant about it. There were never any details. And he just, make sure you vote for the TPP. You down with TPP? You down with TPP? Oh, I'm so cool. I have an accent. For a long time, people joke about how the president probably doesn't run things and he gets taken into a boardroom after he wins the election. It's not exactly that simple. However, we know the intelligence community has run things the same way through all the presidencies since Eisenhower. How do I know this? Well, some fearless people have researched it, and Eisenhower was actually powerless to do anything about the CIA coup in Guatemala with President Arbenz and in Iran with President Mohammad Mossadegh. Now, the New York Times, even back then in the 50s, was right there as the arm of the government talking about how terrible Arbenz was. He was a doctor. And talking about how terrible Mohammad Mossadegh was. This was all about oil, all about British petroleum. Now, John F. Kennedy, he said to the head of the CIA, you're not doing this. What would normally happen at the Bay of Pigs if Ike had been president was that Allen Dulles, the head of the CIA, would have said, you know what, we got in this covert operation and we're in trouble and now we need troops. Ike would have sent the troops, even if he didn't want to. But President Kennedy was like, you're on your own. I didn't authorize this. Then he fired the head of the CIA. It's documented that the head of the CIA then began to govern the country from his Georgetown townhouse. So you say, well, that was in the past. That was in the past, you know. And guess what? The head of the CIA, Allen Dulles, also got himself on the Warren Commission, which is why that report was such a steaming pile of shit. So if you think they're not still doing this, no, they've had decades of practice. Down in Panama, we made Noriega, and then we unmade Noriega. Do you remember we put a siege on his seat of government, and we were playing really loud music, and we finally forced him out, and the propaganda was intense also. So what I'm seeing now is they're taking the Banana Republic-style coup that they've been fomenting all over the world and bringing it to the United States. Make no mistake, I'm sure of it. Because I know their tactics. I'm sure of it because those who are calling for, let's just get on with this, let's just declare Joe Biden president-elect, those people are the same ones who won't acknowledge basic truths about China, about trade. And it's not about Hunter Biden, that laptop. It was about China. And I'm telling you, if you really saw the hidden truths, you would be saying, danger, 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 danger. And I'm telling you, we must. Every single pollster, like Nate Silver, every single poll worker, postal service worker, ballot, counter must go and search their soul and must take a stand, or our country and our freedom will no longer have a redress of grievances. They will solidify their ability to be above the law. Anyone who's involved in cover-ups and all of these things that happen, they think for the greater good or patriotism, but really it's just a higher loyalty to the conglomerate. This will be solidified. They will be able to do anything. And you've already seen your freedoms taken away. I'm calling on every whistleblower, every witness, every single person involved in this election from November 3rd, 2020 to come forward, to share their story, document it. If you do that, you'll actually be protected. You'll protect yourself more because they can't kill all of us. I'm calling on you now. Share your story. Even if you don't like Trump, you have no idea what Biden represents. He's a puppet. I know some of you feel it in your gut. You feel it in your soul. You feel it in the intestinal bacteria that's telling you, danger, danger, danger. Kamala Harris couldn't even win or get close in the primary, and she will be in charge. Joe Biden is not capable. He is a puppet. And I know that many Democrats are voting just for the machine because they know Biden isn't competent. The New York Times and the Washington Post are arms of the intelligence community. It's documented. Remember, every coup that we've had, when we invaded Iraq and spent hundreds of billions of dollars, the New York Times and the Washington Post were right there in line. They may have admitted it later because they had to. Okay? So this is what you got to understand. The intelligence community runs things. Chuck Schumer said if you go up against the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you, and that's what they're doing to Trump right now. It's actually very easy to smear anyone because no one's perfect in this world. Trump has a pretty out there sense of humor. I finally realized it's not actually funny, but what he said about Ivanka, I'd probably be dating her, or what he said about shooting someone on Fifth Avenue is literally his idea of gallows humor. It's ridiculous, but it's very easy to smear someone if you highlight their faults and then just totally hide anything good they've done. Yes, I have looked at the idea that maybe Trump is deceiving everybody, and maybe he's messing with the unemployment numbers for Black Americans. The thing is, though, I have already tried out that idea, and it's not true, because there's the bureaucrats in the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They still count the information. The journalists have their thumb on that scale. The mainstream media, New York Times, has their thumb on this scale. The Washington Post has their thumb on this scale. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Every time there's something that they want to cover up, they immediately go into full gear, and you can see this voice of God type thing. Remember Anonymous? He was some low-level bureaucrat that almost nobody had even heard of. The federal government is vast, and it doesn't leave when a new president takes office. You may hate Trump, but let me tell you this. His penchant for truth-telling and not sugarcoating it, especially when the media is saying the opposite, is very disconcerting to this country. It's been exhausting, okay? I'm not going to lie. However, if you actually knew what was going on, you would think differently. Now you say, well, my life hasn't been affected by the deep state. No, but there is, we are moving toward fewer liberties. Pandemic, anyone? It's not that I think the pandemic is a hoax. It's not. It was a real virus, and it was really strange timing of when it came after the trade agreement with China. It doesn't kill a very large percentage of the population, but it is highly contagious. It was perfect. It was perfect timing for us to just shut everything down. This is what we must do. We must demand the truth. We must demand a recount, because the confidence in our elections will not ever recover from this. It will not recover. We must demand the full picture. They didn't give us the full story on 9/11. We know that. Ask the families. They didn't give us the full story on the Las Vegas shooting. Ask the families or the witnesses, families of witnesses who died. The Las Vegas sheriff was hapless. He had his arms tied, and that's because the feds stepped in. When it's something that really needs a big cover-up, the feds step in. This is serious. We need answers. Demand them. And if you know anybody who's a whistleblower, tell them to come forward. Make a video. Post it. Send it. Send it to all your friends. I have never shied away from the tough tasks. It's not easy. I have high anxiety. But I wouldn't be putting myself on the line if I didn't know with a certainty what was going on. And yes, we are back to facts, because everything since the Kennedy assassination has been a mirage, an illusion. And you know we don't get the full answers. It doesn't have to be this way. There's enough prosperity on the planet. But taking it from those who are job creators is not the answer. The problem is we have a cancer of corruption that is siphoning off our wealth and our lifeblood. Hundreds of billions of dollars on Iraq. Okay? Remember that. The New York Times and the Washington Post were complicit. Life is not as confusing as our information overlords would have us believe. We can have prosperity for all. So please, please demand answers. Demand that these information controls stop. Don't accept it. I'm with you. Thanks for watching.